I'm sitting in my car, and it's the first new car I've ever had in all my life. And I'm looking at the highway that I should be on, disappearing under a huge sheet of water that stretches from horizon to horizon. And I'm in a place called Belliendo Crossing, which is about 300 and something or other kilometers southwest of Townsville. It's just a service station, a few cabins. And why am I there? And as I said, I'm an artist, and I'm there at the beginning of my Flying Arts tour. Now, some of you might not know what Flying Arts is, but it's a very typically Queensland organisation which offers workshops all over Queensland. I feel that Townsville might have played a little bit of a role in the start of Flying Arts, because the person who founded it was somebody called Mervyn Moriarty. Some of you might even remember Mervyn. And he had given a workshop in Townsville in the late 60s. And he loved it so much that my husband and I took him for a sail around the island. And he said, oh, I just love giving workshops. He said, oh, and sailing is so beautiful. Maybe I should get a boat. He said, and then I can give workshops all along the coast. And I said, well, if you learn to fly, you could give workshops everywhere. And so 2 years later, what was then called the Flying Arts School started. And later on, it morphed into something called Flying Arts. And I'm talking 2010, when art workshops and things like that weren't so readily available on the internet. And so you travel to places like Rolleston, Springshore, Longreach, Barcaldine, and it's a real community event. People come together, and it's as much a social thing as an arts thing. And I'm always very punctual. I always want to be totally on time and not cancel the last minute, because you realize people come from outlying stations and all that sort of thing. So there I was at Belliendo Crossing. I'd spent a night in a cabin there, and the night when I went to bed, there was a long dry landscape with a narrow causeway overgoing a series of river systems. And I hadn't heard the rain at night. When I woke up, there was this sheet of water. And I thought, I went and filled up his petrol. I was standing at the pump, and there was a truckie beside me who was also filling up. I said, Jesus, mate, I've got to get to Rolleston on the other side. I've got to go on a tour. And I said, I don't know how to get there. And he said, he said, I'll drive through it. And he said, if you stay right behind me, he said, 2 meters behind me, he said, I'll part the waters. He said, you'll see the water going, you'll see the water going that way. He said, and you just stick behind me. He said, no matter what you do. And he said, gets a bit deeper at the end. He said, but you'll be right. And I thought, well, my new car. And so off I went. And he drove behind him. He was in front of me. And the water miraculously parted. And I was actually driving on the ground. I could see the smatterings of bitumen on this causeway. And so that was going really well. And but then we got to where it got a little bit deeper. And instead of the water parting each way, there was a whole new waterfall coming towards me from underneath the truck, which was pushing against my radiator, my grill. I had my foot flat on the floor, and I could not push against this water. And so gradually, it was 2 meters, 3 meters, 4 meters, and then I saw him go, and the waters closed around me, this far off the door, and they were coming into the car. And I could see him drive on and going up the rise on the other end, and I thought, God, I hope he's looking in his rear mirror. And I saw, thank heaven, he stopped, and he was talking to somebody else, and then I could just see them in the distance. They had a big rope over their arm, and then they waded back all the way to me, and he said, is your engine still running? And I said, yeah. Well, he said, that's a good thing. And so him and one of the fellows from up there, they stood on each side of my car, and he said, open your windows, and they put their elbow over the window, over the door. He said, we'll walk you across. He said, we can feel with our feet where the causeway is. He said, it was very narrow. I said, yeah, I saw that last night. And so we walked, they walked, and I drove very carefully, and there we are. We got to the other side, and I opened the doors, and the water fell out. And I said, thank you, mate. He said, you'll be right now, won't you? I said, yeah, that's terrific, thank you. So I continued on several hundred kilometers to Ralston, which was my first stop. And Ralston is also a very small place, pub on the corner. And as it happened, the person who organizes the flying arts workshops there was standing on the footpath. And I pulled over and she said, Jesus, Anneke, she said, how did you get here? He said, nobody is coming because it's flooded everywhere. So there you are. And I just thought, well, I concluded, you don't always have to be punctual. And if it's flooded, forget it.